Chair simulator. Chair simulator. Chair simulator. Select your character.
And a $100,000 mystery box.
Hello. I'm playing chair game. I'm Mr. Beast. I come over here. Get in the chair.
Mystery box.
Mystery box. I can pick up the chair. I gotta put it over here.
Mystery
I
box.
can watch TV. This is my favorite video game. I just sit in a chair. I'm just gonna play chair game for a while. I like chairs. Oh, my sit points are generating slowly.
Mystery box.
I'm gonna save up for 50 sit points. And then I'm gonna go to IKEA. It's right through that door there. That's all you do in this game. I also have Beyblade. I use Beyblade. It's an off-brand screw piece. Off-brand bit, whatever it's called. Dip, that's it. But everything in between is normal. Like actual Beyblade fusion stuff. Here's Beyblade Burst. This is a real Beyblade Burst. It explodes. Pretty cool. Go. See? You can't see it now. Oh, I hit my mouse. I like Beyblade.
Mystery box.
If you sit on the chair too long, when your butt gets too hurt, you start losing sit points. That's not good. You don't want to lose sit points. That's what I do all day. Just play sit game.
Mystery box.
Very unrealistic how quickly your butt cools off when you play this game. Pretty much just stand up and sit right back down. Hey Matthew, what's up? Playing Chair Simulator. It's good times. And Mr. Beast. You know, mystery box.
Mystery box.
Mystery box. Watching some TV. Stream.fm. All the pirate radio for the... Oh, I can't read that. Disney Plus, HBO Go, Hulu, Netflix, Prime Video, YouTube.tv. Oh, let's go. 50 sit points. I love running in this game. It looks so goofy. Alright, so last time I played this game, first thing I bought was the beanbag chair. The beanbag chair is kind of ugly, so instead, I'm going to buy this cool little blue plastic stool. It's very uncomfortable though. Let's check. Is this less uncomfortable? No, very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Let's check out a bigger chair. It costs a lot of money. Like this one. Pretty uncomfortable. Are there any expensive ones around here? Oh, this one's 800. Barber chair. This one's very uncomfortable, but it has 4 stars? That's wild. Let's go look for an expensive one. It's like 1,000 or something. The Iron Throne. Pretty uncomfortable. 4 stars. Gamer chair? Oh, are you good? Very uncomfortable. Oh. Red and blue chair. Very uncomfortable. Okay. Look for one that looks like it'd be very comfortable. That one looks like it'd be pretty comfortable. Train seat. I'm gonna buy this one. Let's go ahead and pick it up. Hudson bar stool. Very uncomfortable. Yo, the wicker lounge. Very uncomfortable. They're all very uncomfortable. Whoa. Lockheed Lounger. 5 stars. Very uncomfortable. Run. I don't see anything interesting around here. Yeah, this one's almost 1,000. Pretty uncomfortable 5 stars. That's crazy. The Aeron chair? Pretty uncomfortable 4 stars. What about the Barcelona chair over here? Pretty uncomfortable 4 stars. Okay. I didn't see anything that was better than pretty uncomfortable. Gotta run back home, put down my chair. Oh, it's office chairs, couches, stools, chairs. Okay.
Mystery box.
Mystery box. Let's go. I love my mystery box. Dude, I can't wait until I get to level 2. I'll get so many coins when I get to level 2. I really do just be chilling here. Oh, he's uncomfy.
Mystery box.
Mystery box. Let's just talk about random things on my desk then. I got a bunch of Pokemon coins here. They're really cool. This one's a Alolan Ninetales. And then the next one's Incineroar. Hold up. We got Incineroar. Okay. That's I dropped one. I have an Espeon. I think the one I dropped was an Umbreon. Oh no, it was Brioni. This is Brioni. Next is Charizard. Very cool. Oh, he's about to get uncomfortable.
Mystery box. Mystery box.
There we go. Charizard. Umbreon. Which one is this? It's the Gen 7 pseudo legendary dragon dude. I don't know his name. Got Xerneas here. Alolan Raichu. And Decidueye. That's my last one. Very cool. Those are all my Pokemon coins. I got this golden Mimic from my girlfriend the other day. Really sick. It doesn't open or anything, but I still like it.
Mystery box.
Got a tongue. It's gold. Should I just read a book to stream, to chat? Yes, no, maybe so. I could read The Mysterious Benedict Society. It's my favorite book. It recently got a show on Disney Plus. The first chapter, pencils, erasers, and disqualification. I don't think anyone's here. Except for Matthew, who I don't even know if he's still watching. I'm just gonna read it. I should probably get some water if I'm gonna do this. Oh, how many pages is the first chapter? Oh, it's long. Did I miss it? No, it's just like 30 pages. Okay, I can do that. I just gotta get my water.
Mystery box.
Sit down, Mr. Beast. I'll be right back. Yeah. Water. Water. Got a whole picture here. Picture. It's almost empty. Down to the last little bit here. Nevertheless. Alright. Take a sip.
Mystery
box. Water. Okay. Everyone ready for me to read The Mysterious Benedict Society? Top tier book right here. In a city called Stonetown, near a port called Stonetown Harbor, a boy named Rainey Muldoon was preparing to take an important test. It was the second test of the day. The first had been in an office across town. After that one, he was told to come here, to the Monk Building on 3rd Street, and to bring nothing but a single pencil and a single rubber eraser. To arrive no later than 1 o'clock. If he happened to be late, or bring 2 pencils, or forget his eraser, or... hold up, gotta clear the pane.
Mystery box.
Or in any other way deviate from the instructions, he would not be allowed to take the test. And that would be that. Rainey, who very much wanted to take it, was careful to follow the instructions. Curiously enough, these were the only ones given. He was not told how to get to the Monk Building, for example, and had found it necessary to ask for directions to the nearest bus stop, acquire a schedule from a dishonest bus driver who tried to trick him into paying for it, then walk several blocks to catch the 3rd Street bus. Not that any of this was difficult for Rainey Muldoon, although he was only 11 years old. He was quite used to figuring things out for himself. Take a little sip. Clear Mr. Beast's pain real quick.
Mystery box.
From somewhere across the city, a church bell struck the half hour, 12:30. He had a while to wait. When he checked the doors of the Monk Building at noon, they were locked. So Rainey had brought a sandwich at a deli stand and sat down at this park bench to eat. The tall building in Stonetown's busiest district must surely have many offices inside, he thought. Locked doors at noon seemed a little peculiar. But then, what had it been peculiar about this whole affair? To begin with, there was the advertisement. A few days before, Rainey had been reading the newspaper over breakfast at the Stonetown orphanage, sharing sections with his tutor, Miss Perumal. As Rainey had already completed all the textbooks on his own, even those for high school students, the orphanage director had assigned him a special tutor, while the other children went to class. Clear the pain?
Mystery box.
Where was I? Miss Perumal didn't quite know what to do with Rainey either, but she was intelligent and kind, and in their time together they had grown fond of sharing the morning newspaper over breakfast and tea. The newspaper that morning had been filled with the usual headlines, several of them devoted to what was commonly called the emergency. Things had gotten desperately out of control. The headlines reported the school systems, the budget, the pollution, the crime, the weather. Why? Everything, in fact, was a complete mess, and citizens everywhere were clamoring for a major, no, a dramatic improvement in government. Things must change now, was the slogan plastered on billboards all over the city. It was a very old slogan. Although Rainey rarely watched television, he knew the emergency was the main subject of the news programs every day, as it had been for years. Clear the pain?
A mystery box.
Naturally, when Rainey and Miss Perumal first met, they had discussed the emergency at great length, finding themselves quite in agreement about politics. However, they soon found such conversation boring and decided to drop the subject. In general, then, they talked about the other news stories, those that varied day to day, and afterward they amused themselves by reading the advertisements. Such was the case on that particular morning when Rainey's life had so suddenly taken a turn. "Do you care for more honey with your tea?" Miss Perumal had asked, speaking in Tamil, a language she was teaching him, but before Rainey could answer that of course he wanted more honey, the advertisement caught Miss Perumal's eye and she exclaimed, "Rainey, look at this! Would you be interested?" Miss Perumal sat across the table from him, but Rainey, who had no trouble reading upside down, quickly scanned the advertisement's bold printed words. "Are you a gifted child looking for special opportunities?" How odd, he thought. Oh no. I was in pain.
A mystery box.
Miss Perumal sat across the table from him, but, I already got past that part. The question was addressed directly to children, not to their parents. Rainey had never known his parents, who died when he was an infant, and it pleased him to read a notice that seemed to take this possibility into account. But still, how odd. How many children read the newspaper after all? Rainey did, but he had always been alone in this, had always been considered an oddball. If not for Miss Perumal, he might even have given it up by now to avoid some of the teasing.
A mystery box.
"I suppose I might be interested," he said to Miss Perumal, "if you think I would qualify." Miss Perumal gave him a wry look. "Don't you play games with me, Rainey Muldoon. If you aren't the most talented child I've ever known, then I've never known a child at all." There were to be several sessions of the test administered over the weekend. They made plans for Rainey to attend the very first session. Unfortunately, on Saturday, Miss Perumal's mother fell ill and Miss Perumal couldn't take him. This was a real disappointment to Rainey, and not just because of the delay. He always looked forward to Miss Perumal's company, her laughter, her wry expressions, the stories she told, often in Tamil, of her childhood in India, even the occasional sighs she made when she didn't think he was aware. They were gentle and lilting, these sighs, and despite their melancholy, Rainey loved to hear them. Miss Perumal sighed when she was feeling sad for him. He knew that. Oh no.
A mystery box.
Sad the poor boy had lost his parents, and Rainey wished he hadn't worried her. But he did like knowing she cared. He was the only one who did, not counting Seymour, the orphanage cat, with whom Rainey spent the day in the reading room. And he only wanted to be petted. Quite apart from his eagerness to take the special test, Rainey simply missed Miss Perumal. He was hopeful, then, when Mr. Rudiger, the orphanage director, informed him late that evening that Miss Perumal's mother was considerably improved. Rainey was in the reading room again, the only place in the orphanage where it could be assured of solitude. No one else ever ventured into it. Clear the pain. Almost at 200 points, let's go! And freedom from persecution. At dinner, an older boy named Vic Morganoff had tormented Rainey for using the word enjoyable to describe the book he was reading. Vic thought it too fancy a word to be proper, and soon had gotten the entire table laughing and saying enjoyable in mocking tones until Rainey had finally excused him without dessert and retreated here. "Yes, she's much better, said Mr. Rudiger, through a mouthful of cheesecake. He was a thin man with a thin face, and his cheeks positively bulged as he chewed. Miss Perumal just telephoned with the news. She asked for you, but as you were not to be found in the dining hall, and I was in the middle of dinner, I took the message for you." "Thank you," said Rainey, with a mixture of relief and disappointment. Cheesecake was his favorite dessert. "I'm glad to hear it." Clear the pain.
A mystery box.
"Indeed, nothing like health. Absolutely nothing like it. Best thing for anyone," said Mr. Rudiger. But here he paused in his chewing, with an unpleasant worried expression upon his face, as if he thought perhaps there had been an insect in his food. Finally he swallowed, brushed the crumbs from his waistcoat, and said, "But see here, Rainey. Miss Perumal mentioned a test of some sort. Special opportunities," she said. "What is that all about? This isn't about attending an advanced school, is it?" They had been through this before. Rainey had repeatedly asked permission to apply elsewhere, but Mr. Rudiger had insisted Rainey would fare better here. With a tutor, that at an advanced school, here you are comfortable. Mr. Rudiger had told him more than once, and more than once Rainey had thought, here I'm alone. But in the end, Mr. Rudiger had it his way, and Miss Perumal was hired. It had proved a blessing. Rainey would never complain about Miss Perumal. Still, he had often wondered, no. I'm at 241, let's go. Level 2!
Mystery box.
Oh, I get 3 coins per level, or per XP point now. Oh, why am I... no. Oh, I get more coins, whatever. So he had often wondered what life might be like at a school where the other students don't find him so odd. I don't know, sir, Rainey said, his hopefulness slipping into dejection. He wished Miss Perumal hadn't mentioned the test, though of course she must have felt obligated to. We just wanted to see what it was about. Mr. Rudiger considered this. Well, no harm in seeing what things are about, I suppose. I should like to know what it's about myself, in fact. Why don't you prepare a report for me when you return? Say, 10 pages. No hurry, you can turn it in tomorrow evening. Tomorrow evening, said Rainey. Does that mean I'm taking the test? Clear the pain.
Mystery box.
I thought I told you, said Mr. Rudiger with a frown. Miss Perumal will come for you first thing in the morning. He took out an embroidered handkerchief and blew his nose, with great ferocity. And now, Rainey, I believe I'll leave you to your reading. The dusty room is a hardship on my sinuses. Be a good man and run a feather duster over the shelves before you leave, will you? After hearing this news, Rainey could hardly return to his reading. He flailed about with the feather duster and went straight to bed, as if doing so would hasten the morning's arrival. Instead, it lengthened his night, for he was far too eager and anxious to sleep. Special opportunities, he kept thinking over and over again. He would have been thrilled to get a crack at plain old regular opportunities, much less special ones. Dang, that's sad. Clear the pain.
Mystery box.
Just before dawn, he rose quietly, got ready with the lights off so not to disturb his roommates. They often snarled at him for reading in bed at night, even when he used a tiny penlight under the covers, and hurried down to the kitchen. Miss Perumal was already waiting for him. She had been too excited to sleep as well and had arrived early. The kettle was just beginning to whistle on the stove. Miss Perumal, with her back to him, was setting out cups and saucers. Good morning, Miss Perumal, he said froggily. He cleared his throat. I was glad to hear your mother's doing better. Thank you, Rainey. Would you? Miss Perumal turned, then took one look at him and said, You'll not make a good impression dressed like that, I'm afraid. One mustn't wear striped pants and a checkered shirt. In fact, I believe those must belong to a roommate. They're at least a size too big. Also, it appears that one of your socks is blue and the other purple. Rainey looked down at his outfit in surprise. Usually he was the least noticeable of boys. He was of average size, of an average pale complexion.
Mystery box.
Where was I? Of an average pale complexion, his brown hair was of average length, and he wore average clothes. This morning, though, he would stand out in a crowd, unless it happened to be a crowd of clowns. He grinned at Miss Perumal and said, I dress this way for luck. Luckily, you won't need luck, said Miss Perumal, taking the kettle from the stove. Now please, go change. And this time, turn on your light. Never mind how your roommates grumble. So that you may have better luck choosing your clothes. Alright, let's take a quick break and get back to the game for a minute. I gotta go buy a new chair. It's chair purchasing time. Come on, Mr. Beast, let's go. Okay, I've got almost 400. Let's see what I can buy. The monoblock chair. How? It's pretty comfortable, 5 stars. I can't afford it, but it's still cool. The electric chair. It's very comfortable. We found it. The very comfortable chair. Sorry, Pantone. Oh, very uncomfortable. Wait, did it say very comfortable? Oh, it said very uncomfortable. I'm just stupid. Is there any very comfortable chair in this whole game? Lego chair, Lego chair, Lego chair. Very uncomfortable. Darn. How about a cinema chair? It's pretty uncomfortable. I'll buy this chair. I'm gonna pick it up. Come on, Mr. Beast, back home. We gotta put down your cinema chair. So I can continue reading. Okay, go and sit down. Mystery box. Alright, back to the book. Let me take a sip of my water real quick. In case you're just tuning in, we are reading The Mysterious Benedict Society. Chapter 1. When Rainey returned, Miss Primrose told him that she had a long errand to run. Her mother had been prescribed new medicine and a special diet. Miss Primrose must go shopping for her. It was agreed that she would take him to the test and pick him up when it was over. After a light breakfast, neither of them wanted more than toast, yet well before anyone else in the orphanage had risen, Miss Primrose drove him across the sleepy city to an office building near Stonetown Bay. A line of children already stood at the door, all of them accompanied by their parents, all fidgeting nervously. When Miss Primrose moved to get out of the car, Rainey said, "I thought you were dropping me off." "You don't think I would just leave you here without investigating first, do you?" replied Miss Primrose. The notice didn't even list a telephone number for questions. It's a bit out of the ordinary, don't you think? So Rainey took his place at the end of the line while Miss Primrose went inside the building to speak with someone. It was a long line, and Rainey wondered how many special opportunities were available. Perhaps only a very few. Perhaps they would all be given up before he even reached the door. He was growing anxious at the idea when a friendly man ahead of him turned and said, "Don't worry, son. You haven't long to wait. All the children are here to go inside together in a few minutes. They made the announcement just before you arrived." Rainey thanked him gratefully, noticing as he did so that a number of parents were casting grumpy looks at them, apparently disliking the notion of being friendly to competitors. The man, embarrassed, turned away from Rainey and said nothing else. "Very well," said Miss Primrose when she returned. "Everything is set. You may call me on the telephone when you finish the test. Here's the number. If I'm not back by then, simply call a taxi and Mr. Rudiger will pay the fare. You can tell me all about it this afternoon." Gonna go ahead and clear the pane.
Mystery box.
Mystery box. Thanks, Mr. Beast. "Thanks so much for everything, Miss Primrose," said Rainey, earnestly taking her hand. "Oh, Rainey, you silly child, don't look so grateful," said Miss Primrose. To Rainey's surprise, there were tears on her cheeks. "It's nothing at all. Now give your poor tutor a hug. I imagine my services won't be needed after this." "I haven't passed it yet, Miss Primrose." "Oh, stop being silly," she said, and after squeezing him tightly, Miss Primrose dabbed her eyes with a handkerchief, walked determinedly to the car, and drove away just as the children were ushered into the building. It was a curious test. The first section was rather what Rainey would have expected. One or two questions regarding octagons and hexagons, another devoted to bushels of this and kilograms of that, and another that required calculating how much time must pass before two speeding trains collided. This last question Rainey answered with a thoughtful frown, noting in the margin that since the two trains were approaching each other on an empty stretch of track, it was likely the engineers would recognize the impeding disaster and apply their brakes, thus avoiding the collision altogether. Rainey raced through these questions, and many like them, then came to the second question, whose first question was, "Do you like to watch television?" This certainly was not the sort of question Rainey had expected. It was only a question of preference. Anyway, of course he liked to watch television. Everybody liked to watch television. As he started to mark down the answer, however, Rainey hesitated. Well, did he really? The more he thought about it, the more he realized that, in fact, he didn't like to watch television at all, actually. "I really am an oddball," he thought, with a feeling of disappointment. Nonetheless, he answered the question truthfully. No. The next question read, "Do you like to listen to the radio?" Again, Rainey realized that he did not, although he was sure everyone else did. With a growing sense of isolation, he answered the question no. Go ahead and clear the pane.
Mystery box.
The third question, thankfully, was less emotional. It read, "What is wrong with this statement?" How funny, Rainey thought. And marking down his answer, he felt somewhat cheered. "It isn't a statement at all," he wrote. "It's a question." The next page showed a picture of a chessboard, upon which all the pieces and pawns rested in their starting positions. except for the black pawn, which had advanced 2 spaces. The question read, according to the rules of chess, is this position possible? Rainey studied the board a moment, scratched his head, and wrote down his answer, yes. Starting positions except for a black pawn which had advanced 2 spaces. I don't think so, because white moves first, doesn't it? My dumb? I don't know. After a few more pages of questions, all of which Rainey felt confident he had answered correctly, he arrived at the test's final question. Are you brave? Just reading the words quakened Rainey's heart. Was he brave? Bravery had never been required of him, so how could he tell? Miss Prummel would say he was, but she would point out how cheerful he tried to be despite feeling lonely, how patiently he withstood the teasing of other children, and how he was always eager for a challenge. But these things only showed that he was good-natured, polite, and very often bored. Did they really show that he was brave? He didn't think so. Finally, he gave up trying to decide, and simply wrote, I hope so. He laid down his pencil and looked around. Most of the other children were also finishing the test. At the front of the room, munching rather loudly on an apple, the test administrator was keeping a close eye on them to ensure they didn't cheat. She was a thin woman in a mustard yellow suit, with a yellowish complexion, short-cropped, rusty red hair, and a stiff posture. She reminded Rainey of a giant walking pencil. Pencils! The woman suddenly called out, as if she'd read his thoughts. The children jumped out of their seats. Please lay down your pencils now, the woman said. The test is over. But I'm not finished, one child cried. That's not fair. I want more time, cried another. The woman's eyes narrowed. I'm sorry, you haven't finished, children. But their test is over. Please pass your papers to the front of the room and remain seated while the tests are graded. Don't worry, it won't take long. Clear the pain?
Mystery box.
Mystery box. As the papers were passed forward, Rainey heard the boy behind him snicker and say to his neighbor, they couldn't finish that test, they shouldn't have even come. Like that chess question? Who could have missed it? The neighbor sounding every bit as smug. They were trying to trick us. Pawns can only move 1 space at a time, so of course the position wasn't possible. I'll bet some stupid kids didn't know that. Hi, you're just lucky you didn't miss it yourself. Pawns can move 2 spaces on their very first move. They can, but whether it moved 1 space or 2 is beside the point. Don't you know that white always moves first? The black pawn couldn't have moved yet at all. It's so simple. This test was for babies. Are you calling me a baby? Growled the other. You boys there, snapped the pencil woman. Stop talking. Oh, I know how it's possible. If the knight moved back and forth. The white knight moved back and forth. Rainey was suddenly anxious. Could he possibly have answered the question wrong? And what about the other questions? Except for the odd ones about television and bravery that had seemed easy, but perhaps he was such a strange bird that he had misunderstood everything. He shook his head and tried not to care. He wanted to prove himself brave, after all. He had better just stop worrying. If he must return to this old routine at the orphanage, at least he had Miss Prummel. What did it matter? If he was different from other children, everyone got teased from time to time. He was no different in that respect. Rainey told himself this, but his anxious feeling didn't fade. After all the tests had been turned in, the pencil woman stepped out of the room, leaving the children to bite their nails and watch the clock. Only a few minutes passed, however, before she returned and announced, I shall now read the names of children admitted to the second phase of the test. The children began to murmur, a second phase? The advertisement hadn't mentioned a second phase. The woman continued, if your name is called, you are to report to the Monk Building on 3rd Street, no later than 1 o'clock, where you will join children from other sessions who also passed the test. She went on to lay out the rules about pencils, erasers, and disqualification. Then she popped a handful of peanuts into her mouth and chewed ferociously, as if she were starving. Rainey raised his hand. Yes? The woman said, swallowing. Excuse me, but you say to bring only 1 pencil, but what if the pencil lead breaks? Will there be a pencil sharpener? Again, the boy behind Rainey snickered, this time muttering, what makes him so sure he'll be taking the test? He hasn't even called the names yet. It was true. He should have waited until she called the names. He must have seemed arrogant. Cheeks burning, Rainey ducked his head. The pencil woman answered, yes, if a sharpener should become necessary, one will be provided. Children are not to bring their own. Understood? There's a general nodding of heads. Oh, I'm almost at 600. Let's go.
Mystery box.
Mystery box. There was a general nodding of heads, after which the woman clapped the peanut grit from her hands, took out a sheet of paper, and continued. Very well, if there are no other questions, I will read the list. The room became very quiet. Reynard Muldoon, the woman called. Rainy's heart leaped. There was a grumble of discontent from the seat behind him, but it was soon past as the room grew quiet again, and the children waited with bated breath for other names to be called. The woman glanced up from the sheet. That is all, she said matter-of-factly, folding the paper and tucking it away. The rest of you are dismissed. The room erupted in outcries of anger and dismay. Dismissed, said the boy behind Rainy. Dismissed? As the children filed out of the door, some weeping bitterly, some stunned, some whining in complaint. Rainy approached the woman. For some reason, she was hurrying around the room, checking the window locks. Excuse me, miss? May I please use your telephone? My tutor said... I'm sorry, Raynard, the woman interrupted, tugging unsuccessfully on a closed window. I'm afraid there isn't a telephone. But Miss Perumal... Raynard, the woman said with a smile, I'm sure you can make do without one, can't you? Now if you'll excuse me, I must sneak out the back door. These windows appear to be painted shut. Sneak out? But why? I've learned from experience, any moment now, some of these children's parents will be storming in to demand explanations. Unfortunately, I have none to give them. Therefore, off I go. I'll see you this afternoon. Don't be late. And with that, away she went. It had been a strange business indeed, and Rainy had a suspicion it was to grow stranger still. When the distant church bell struck the quarter hour, Rainy finished his sandwich and rose from the park bench. If the doors to the monk building weren't open by now, he would try to find another way in. At this point, it would hardly surprise him to discover he must enter the building through a basement window. Alright, I'm going to take a short little break, get some water, buy more chairs. Oh boy, water. How I enjoy it. Come on, Mr. Beast, back to the store. I've got almost 700. Oh, I could buy the Lego chair. I want to go to business chairs. Right over here. No. Where are the business chairs? Oh, these are where I bought mine. A toilet! Somewhat comfortable. Let's go. I gotta save up for that, don't I? I think I'm legally obligated to. Let's see if we can find a nice chair. Ooh, the Stark Master chair. Deck chair. Womb chair. I'm gonna buy this one. Come on, chair, let's go. Back home.
Mystery box.
Yo, look at me lounging here. Alright. Drink a little bit more water. Out. Darn. Alright. Back to the game. Or to the book. Where was I? As he mounted the steps to the monk building's broad front plaza, Rainy saw two girls well ahead of him, walking together toward the front doors. Other test takers he guessed. One girl who seemed to have green hair, though perhaps this was a trick of the light. The sun shone blindingly bright today. She was carelessly flinging her pencil up into the air and catching it again. Not the best idea, Rainey thought. And sure enough, even as he thought it, the girl missed the pencil and watched it fall through a grate at her feet. For a moment, the other girl hesitated, as if she might try to help. Then she checked her watch. In only a few minutes, it'd be 1 o'clock. Sorry about your pencil. It's a shame, she said, but already her sympathetic expression was fading. Clearly, it had occurred to her that with the green-haired girl unable to take the test, there would be less competition. With a spreading smile, she hurried across the plaza and through the front doors of the monk building. Which had finally been unlocked. The metal grate covered a storm drain that ran beneath the plaza, and the unfortunate girl was staring through it, down into darkness. When Rainey reached her, her appearance was striking indeed, even startling. She had coal-black skin, hair so long she could have tied it around her waist, and yes, it truly was green, and an extraordinarily puffy white dress that gave you the impression she was standing in a cloud. That's rotten luck, Rainey said, to drop your pencil here of all places. The girl looked up at him with hopeful eyes. You don't happen to have an extra one, do you? I'm sorry, I was told to bring... I know, she interrupted. Only 1 pencil. Well, that was my only pencil, and a fat lot of good it'll do me down in the drain. She stared wistfully through the grate at it for a moment, then looked up at Rainey as if surprised to see him still standing there. What are you waiting for? The test starts any minute. I'm not going to leave you here without a pencil, Rainey said. I was surprised your friend did. Friend? Oh, that other girl? She's not my friend. We just met at the bottom of the steps. I didn't even know her name. For that matter, I don't know yours either. Raynard Muldoon. You can call me Rainey. Okay, Rainey, nice to meet you. I'm Rhonda Kazembe. So, now that we're friends and all, how do you intend to get my pencil back? We'd better hurry, you know. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Beast. I didn't mean to leave you sitting there so long.
Mystery box.
1 minute late and we're disqualified. Rainey took out his pencil, a new, yellow number 2 that he'd sharpened to a fine point that morning. Actually, he said, we'll just share this one. He snapped the pencil in 2 and handed her the sharpened end. I'll sharpen my half and we'll both be set. Do you have your eraser? Rhonda Kazembe was staring at her half of the pencil with a mixture of gratitude and surprise. That would have never occurred to me, she said, breaking it like that. Now, what did you say? Oh yes, I have my eraser. Then let's get going. We only have a minute, Rainey urged. Rhonda held back. Hold on, Rainey, I haven't properly thanked you. You're welcome, he said impatiently. Now let's go. Still, she resisted. No, I really want to thank you. If it weren't for you, I couldn't have taken the test, and do you want to know something? Glancing around to be sure they were alone, Rhonda whispered, I have the answers. I'm going to make a perfect score. What? How? No time to explain, but if you sit right behind me, you can look over my shoulder. I'll hold up my test a bit to make it easier. Rainey was stunned. How in the world could this girl have gotten her hands on the answers? And now she was offering to help him cheat? He was briefly tempted. He wanted desperately to learn about those special opportunities. But when he imagined returning to tell Miss Perumal of his success, hiding the fact that he cheated, he knew he could never do it. No thank you, he said. I'd rather not. Rhonda Kazembe looked amazed, and Rainey once again felt the weight of loneliness upon him. If it was unpleasant to feel so different from the other children at Stonetown Orphanage, how much worse was it to be seen as an oddball by a green-haired girl wearing her own personal fog bank? Okay, suit yourself, Rhonda said as the two of them started for the front doors. I hope you know what you're in for. Rainey was in too much of a hurry to respond. He had no idea what he was in for, of course, but he certainly wanted to find out. Go ahead and clear the pane.
Mystery box.
Mystery box. Inside the monk building, conspicuously posted signs led them down a series of corridors, past a room where a handful of parents waited anxiously, and at last into a room crowded with children and desks, except for the unusual silence. The room was just like any other schoolroom, with a chalkboard at the front, and a teacher's desk upon which rested a pencil sharpener, a ruler, and a sign that said, "No talking. If you are caught talking, it will be assumed you are cheating." Only 2 seats remained empty, one behind the other. To guarantee he wouldn't be tempted to cheat, Rainey chose the one in front, a clock on the wall struck 1 just as Rhonda Kazembe dropped into the desk behind him. That was close, she said. There will be no talking, boomed the pencil woman, who entered just then, slamming the door behind her. She strode briskly into the front of the room, carrying a tall stack of papers and a jar of pickles. If any child is caught cheating, then he or she will be executed. The children gasped. I'm sorry, did I say executed? I meant to say escorted. Any child caught cheating will be escorted from the building at once. Now then, are you all relaxed? It's important to be relaxed when taking such an extremely difficult test as this, especially considering how long it is and how very little time you will have to complete it. In the back of the room, someone groaned in distress. You there, shouted the pencil woman, pointing her finger. Every head in the room swiveled to see who had groaned. It was the same girl who had abandoned Rhonda Kazembe on the plaza. Under the savage stare of the pencil woman, the girl's face went pasty pale, like the underbelly of a dead fish. I said no talking, the woman barked. Do you wish to leave now? But I only groaned, the girl protested. The pencil woman frowned. You mean to suggest that saying, but I only groaned, doesn't count as talking? The girl, frightened and perplexed, could hardly muster a shake of the head. Very well. Let this be a warning to you, to all of you. From this moment on, there will be no talking. Period. Now then, are there any questions? Rainey raised his hand. Raynard Muldoon, you have a question? Rainey held up his broken pencil and made a pencil sharpening motion with the other hand. Very well. You may use the pencil sharpener on my desk. Rainey hustled forward, sharpened his pencil. He felt all eyes upon him as he ground away, checked the tip, and ground away again. He hurried back to his seat. As he did so, he noticed Rhonda Kazembe slipping a tiny piece of paper from the sleeve of her cloud dress, the list of test answers. He was taking quite a risk, Rainey thought, but he had no chance to reflect on it further, as the pencil woman now launched into the rest of her speech. Clear the pain. Oh, he's standing on the chair. He's so tall. Okay, sit back down. Mystery box. You shall have 1 hour to complete this test, she barked, and you must follow these directions exactly. First, write your name at the top of the test. Second, read all the questions and answers carefully. Third, choose the correct answers by circling the appropriate letter. Fifth, bring the completed test to me. Sixth, return to your seat and wait until all the tests have been graded, at which time I will announce the names of those who pass. The children were shifting uneasily in their seats. What had happened to the fourth step? The pencil woman had skipped from third to fifth. The children looked at one another, not daring to speak. What if the fourth step was important? Rainey was waiting, hoping someone else would raise a hand for a change. No one did. Timidly raised his own hand. Yes, Reynard? He pointed to his mouth. Yes, you may speak. What is your question? Excuse me, but what about the fourth step? There is no fourth step, she replied. Any other questions? Utterly baffled now, the children held their tongues. To pass this test, the pencil woman went on. You must correctly answer every question, by which I mean every question. If you skip even one question or answer one incorrectly, you will fail the test. No problem, whispered Rhonda Kazembe from behind Rainey. The pencil woman's eyes darted to their side of the room. She stared hard at Rainey, whose mouth went dry. Why on earth didn't Rhonda keep her mouth closed? Was she trying to get them thrown out? Oh man, it's hard to speak. I need more water. Clear the pain.
Mystery box.
Mystery box. Blow my nose. Ugh, pitcher. Almost last in my water. Darn. I did fill up my cup a little too much. And it is room temperature water, which isn't great. Ugh. Alright. Oh, look how many coins I have. Let's go. And I'm level 3. That means I probably get 3.
Mystery box.
Yeah, I get 3 at a time. Let's go. I want to look out the door. I can see back into my room. That's awesome. Alright. We're at Mischief. Welcome to Mischief, home furnishing. Pretty uncomfortable. 5 stars. Alright, we already know what chair we're gonna buy. Buying the toilet. Toilet, here I come. There it is. White toilet. Buy chair. Gotta bring it home. I like how when you turn, the character leans. One of my favorite part about this game.
Mystery box.
Mystery. +6. Oh my word! It gives me so many extra coins. Let's go. How about the
Mystery box.
Oh yeah, this one just gives me 1. Mystery box.
Mystery box.
No, bad chair.
Mystery box.
Mystery box. Alright, more book time. You may begin the test as soon as you receive it, said the pencilman, turning away at last. And Rainey resisted the urge to sigh with relief. Even a sigh might disqualify him. Besides, what relief he felt didn't last long. The pencilman had begun handing out the test. The first child to receive one was a tough-looking boy in a baseball cap who eagerly grabbed it, looked at the first question, and burst into tears. The girl behind him looked at her test, rubbed her eyes as if they weren't working properly, then looked again. Her head wobbled on her neck. If you begin to feel faint, said the pencilman, moving on to the next child, place your head between your knees and take deep breaths. If you think you may vomit, please come to the front of the room where a trash can will be provided. Down the row she went, distributing the tests. The crying boy had begun flipping through the tests now. There appeared to be several pages, and with each new page his sobs grew louder and more desperate. When he reached the end, he began to wail. I'm afraid loud weeping isn't permitted, said the pencilman. Please leave the room. The boy, greatly relieved, leaped from his desk and raced to the door, followed at once by 2 other children who hadn't received the test yet, but were terrified now to see it. The pencilwoman closed the door. If any others flee the room in panic or dismay, she said sternly, please remember to close the door behind you. Your sobs may disturb the other test takers. She continued handing out the test. Child after child received it with trembling fingers, and child after child, upon looking at the questions, turned pale or red or a subtle shade of green. By the time the pencilwoman dropped the pages upon his desk, dread was making Rainey's stomach flop like a fish, and for good reason. The questions were impossible. The very first one read, the territories of Naxivian Autonomous Republic and the Nagorno-Karabakh region are disputed by what 2 countries? Bhutan, which under the 1865 Treaty of Sinchulu ceded border to the land of Britain, and Britain, which in exchange for that land provided Bhutan an annual subsidy, and under whose influence Bhutan's monarchy was established in 1907. B. Azerbaijan, whose territory in 1828 was divided between Russia and Persia by the Treaty of Turkmenchay, and Armenia, a nation founded after the destruction of Seleucid Empire some 2,000 years ago, likewise incorporated into Russia by the aforementioned treaty, or C. Vanuatu, which having been administered until its independence by an Anglo-French condominium, contains both French and English as official languages, in addition to Bislama and Biclama. In Portugal, whose explorer Pedro Fernandes de Quiros became 1606 the first European to discover the islands Vanuatu comprises. I can't read half of that. Although there were two more answers to choose from, Rainey didn't read them. If every question was like this one, he had absolutely no hope of passing. A quick glance at the next few questions did nothing to encourage him. If anything, they got worse. And this was only the first page. All around him, children were shivering, sighing, grinding their teeth. Rainey felt like joining them. But so much for the special opportunities. Back to the orphanage he would go, where no one, not even good Miss Brummel, knew what to do with him. It had been a nice idea, but apparently he did not have what it took. Even so, he wasn't ready to leave. He had yet to follow the directions, and because he was determined not to quit until he had at least tried, proceeded to follow them now. Dutifully, he wrote his name at the top of the first page. That was the first step. Well, you've accomplished that much, he thought. The second step was to read all the questions and answers carefully. Rainey took a deep breath. There were 40 questions in all. Just reading them would take him most of the hour. It didn't help that the pencil woman now sat eating pickles. There were especially crisp ones, too, as he watched the children struggle. Clear the pain.
Mystery box.
Mystery box. Second question wanted to know where the common vetch originated and to what family it belonged. Rainey had no idea what a common vetch was, and the possible answers offered no helpful clue. It might be an antelope, a bird, a rodent, or a vine. Rainey went on to the third question, which had to do with subatomic particles called fermions, and Indian physicist named Satyendra Durant Bose. The fourth question asked which church was built by the Emperor Justinian to demonstrate his superiority to the late Theodoric Ostrogothic successors. I'm so bad at reading this. Oh, I'm getting +8 now. Level 4, let's go. Do a 4 times multiplier. On and on the questions went. To his credit, Rainey recognized the names of a few places, a few mathematic principles, and one or two important historical figures, but it wouldn't do him any good. He'd be lucky to answer a single question correctly, much less all of them. He was exactly halfway through the test. He was on question 20, regarding the difference between parataxes and hypotaxes. Rainey heard Rhonda Kazembe rise from the desk behind him. Was she already finished? Well, of course, she had all the answers. Rainey grimaced in irritation, and as Rhonda stepped forward to turn in her test, the other children gasped in amazement. But the pencil woman seemed not the least bit suspicious. If anything, she was absorbed in Rhonda's bizarre appearance and hardly glanced at the test as she took it. Rainey had a sudden insight. Rhonda was calling attention to herself on purpose. It was a trick. No one would suspect her for cheating, because who in her right mind would make such a spectacle of herself if she intended to cheat? The green hair, it must be a wig, the poofy dress, the whispering, they were all meant to distract. Most people would assume that if a child intended to cheat, they would surely call as little attention to herself as possible, would be as quiet as a mouse, and as plain as wallpaper. Rainey had to hand it to Rhonda. She might not be smart enough to pass the test, but she was clever enough to get away with cheating on it. He felt a pang of jealousy. Now Rhonda would move on to experience the special opportunities, while Rainey would mope his way back to the orphanage, defeated. As Rhonda passed him on the way to her desk, she winked and let fall a tiny slip of paper. It drifted down like a feather and settled right upon Rainey's desk. The test answers. Rainey peeked over at the pencil woman, but she hadn't noticed. She was busy grading Rhonda's test now, making it checkmark after checkmark, and nodding her head. The answers were indeed the right ones, and here they sat on his desk. If he'd felt tempted before, when he had no idea how hard the test would be, temptation was nothing compared to now. Play the pain.
Mystery box.
Mystery box. No matter that he'd resisted, no matter that he'd chosen his seat precisely to avoid this situation, Here he was, staring at a slip of paper that contained the key to his hopes. All he had to do was turn it over and look at the answers. The other children were too busy sniffling and biting their fingernails to notice, and if he hurried, he might even copy the answers down before the pencil woman looked up again. She had finished reading Rhonda's paper and was concentrating on the nearly empty jar of pickles, trying to finish out the last one. Rainey stared a long moment at the paper, sorely tempted. Then he reached out and flicked it from the desk and onto the floor. What good would his opportunities do him if he wasn't qualified to be given them? And where was the pleasure in cheating? If he couldn't pass fairly, he didn't want to pass. He thought this, and mostly believed it, and felt that his spirits boosted by the decision. But even so, a few seconds passed before he could tear his eyes from the paper on the floor. All right, he told himself, returning to the test. Get a move on, Rainey, and don't look back. There's no time to waste. Indeed, there wasn't. As a glance at the wall clock confirmed, less than half an hour remained, and Rainey had more than half of the test yet to read. He finished reading about parataxis and hypotaxis. They either had something to do with writing or else with futuristic transportation, but he couldn't decide which. And moved on to question 21, which read, after the fall of the Russian Empire, when a failed attempt to create a Trans-Caucasian Republic with Georgia and Armenia led to the creation of the country Azerbaijan, which currently disputes with Armenia the territories of Naxivian Autonomous Republic in the Nagorno-Karabakh region. From what key powers did Azerbaijan? Rainey stopped. Something about the question seemed awfully familiar. So familiar, but he felt pressed to think about it. Hadn't he seen those names before? Flipping back to the beginning of the test, Rainey read the very first question again. Territories of the Naxivian Autonomous Republic and the Nagorno-Karabakh region are disputed by what two countries? He blinked, hardly believing his eyes. Armenia and Azerbaijan. The answer to question 1 lay hidden in question 21. This wasn't a test of knowledge at all, it was a puzzle. Rainey looked at the question 22, which began, despite having originated in Europe, the vine known as the common vetch, member of the pea family, is widely known. There it was, the answer to question 2. With mounting excitement, Rainey read the next one, and sure enough, although the question itself made no mention of subatomic particles or Indian physicists, there was a discussion of them in answer D. Not only were all the answers buried in the test, he realized, they were all listed in order. Number 1's answer was found in number 21, and vice versa. Number 2's answers were found in number 22, and so on, all the way up to number 40, which cleared up the mystery of parataxis and hypotaxis, raised in question 20. Clear the pain?
Mystery box.
Mystery box. Rainey was so delighted he nearly leaped from his desk and cheered. Still, he couldn't spare even a moment to congratulate himself. Time was running short. Eagerly he set to the task of finding the correct answers. It took a good while, as it was necessary to flip back and forth between pages and read a great deal of text. And in the end, it took Rainey almost exactly 1 hour to finish the test. He had only just circled the last answer, placed his test on the pencil woman's desk, and looked around at the other children. Some were furiously circling numbers at random, hoping to get lucky, and some were not to be seen at all, having crept out of the room in bleak despair. When the pencil woman shouted, "Pencils! Time's up, children! Lay down your pencils, please!" After a certain amount of blubbering and wiping away tears, the children stacked the tests on top of Rainey's and returned to their seats. In exhausted silence, they waited as the pencil woman flipped through their tests. This took but a minute. She had only to look at the first question after all. When she came to Rainey's at the bottom of the stack, she ran through the pages, making check marks and nodding. "Nice work," Rhonda whispered from behind him. "You managed it on your own." She seemed genuinely pleased that he hadn't cheated, despite having encouraged him to do just that. It was certainly a strange one. "I shall read now the names of those who passed the test," announced the pencil woman. "Your name is called. You will advance to the 3rd stage of testing. So please remain seated and await further instructions. Those whose names are not called are free to go." Rainey's ears perked up. There was a 3rd stage? The pencil woman cleared her throat, but this time she didn't bother looking at the paper in front of her. "Rainer de Muldoon, she called out. On her way out of the room, she had, "That is all." That's the end of the chapter. Oh boy, I'll read chapter 2 another time. This water's still room temperature. Ugh. Alright. Up to level 6. 5. Let's go. Let's just unlock a few chairs. I'll unlock this one. Pretty uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Pretty uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Pretty uncomfortable. And that's all I can afford for now. Alright, let's send in all of them, see which one gets me the
Mystery
most.
box.
Oh, that one kills me very quick, but gets me a lot of
Mystery
money.
box.
Oh, actually,
Mystery
that
box.
much. Plus 6.
Mystery box.
Plus 7.
Mystery box.
Plus 8.
Mystery box.
Plus 2.
Mystery box.
Plus 2.
Mystery box.
Plus 10.
Mystery box.
Plus 8. Alright, so this one's the best one here. Take this one home. How much is this one?
Mystery box.
10? Alright, so both these are the same.
Mystery box.
Check my inventory. Five stars, pretty uncomfortable. Versus 5 stars, somewhat comfortable. So does that mean this one increases
box.
pain slower? I think it might be. Let's go. Thank you, Mr. Beast. Alright, let's change games. I am getting kind of bored of this one. Should I play another garbage game? Because I could. I'll play B-Hop Simulator. That game is the definition of garbage. But it's free. Alright, this might be loud. Make sure it's muted. It's muted on my volume mixer. You guys can hear it. I apologize. Alright. Game's bad. But expert tip, don't die. Oh, thanks. I got up to 20. This is a checkpoint. Checkpoint too. I missed. No. I gotta start all the way back from here. Oh, I almost forgot. I gotta change my stream category. How the frick do I do that? Here we go. There we go. This game. Good enough for my title. Alright. Oh my word. Alright, maybe I should slow down. Heck. This way. Nah. Oh, I had the speed, I didn't have the positioning. I've gone backwards. Backwards isn't fun. I wanted it to be fun, but it wasn't. try doing. Come on, bounce. Come on, bounce. Come on, bounce. Come on, bounce. This is the first Fire Force outro? No, I can't turn. It's off my Fire Force. I just can't tell if it's the intro or the outro. Stupid. I think it's the outro. No. I don't see why they have, like, both the diagonals, because you cannot change direction that fast. Let's go. No! I failed on the easy jump. Yeah, you need at least like a speed of 16, 17 to make that jump. Which is fairly hard to get to, much less maintain. I mean, technically it's easy to maintain the speed. It's hard to stay on the platforms while maintaining speed. Let's go! Oh, I beat it! 1-2 speed. Where am I supposed to go? Oh, I'm fast. It's like my natural walking speed. Oh. Alright, I figured out how to game Speed Easy. Speed Easy? That's a YouTuber. That's easy speasy. Am I supposed to get over to that W platform? Alright, it is Quake esque bunny hopping. That makes sense. Heck. Alright, I gotta start just jumping randomly. Heck. Longer jump than I thought it'd be. Arguably a longer jump than it ought to be. Heck. Okay, I think I'm done. Talk to you guys tomorrow. See ya.